Everything you need to know about the Catholic boarding experience. Three members of the CBSA are here today. I am Mark Baczynski, Director of Boarding Admissions at Chaminade College Preparatory School.
I'm Molly McAllister, and I work in admissions at St. John's Prep School in Collegeville, Minnesota.
And I'm Gretchen Roddy, Director of Enrollment Management at Woodlands Academy of the Sacred Heart in Lake Forest, Illinois.
And if you're interested in where that is, take a look at this next slide. CBSA member schools span from east to west coast, but we're focusing today on three of our Midwest schools. Again, Chaminade in St. Louis, St. John's in Collegeville, Minnesota, and Woodlands Academy in Lake Forest, Illinois. We're going to tell you a lot today about the benefits of Catholic boarding for Catholic families, for non-Catholic families, for rigorous academics, and much more. So I hope you enjoy.
Thanks again for joining us today. We know there are a lot of boarding schools out there, and there are a lot of wonderful schools all around the world for students to choose from. We're really going to focus today on the benefits of a Catholic boarding school experience. So we have a few points talking about why choose a Catholic school. The first point is a strong academic foundation. So Catholic boarding schools often emphasize discipline and high academic standards with a curriculum that prepares students well for college and beyond. So our schools have a very, very strong focus on college prep. And that I know is what a lot of students are looking for when they are choosing a boarding school. Another thing we focus on is a faith-based education. So students receive instruction grounded in Catholic teachings and values, which can foster moral development, a strong sense of purpose, and spiritual maturity. So even if students are not Catholic or are of no faith background, the values that we really instill in our students can be beneficial for all students to help them learn and grow and be part of that community. Another reason to study at a Catholic boarding school is having a structured environment. So the boarding school setting provides a structured routine that helps students build time management skills, responsibility, and self-discipline. So again, that can kind of tie in with any boarding environment, but it's really teaching those students independence and some of those important skills for their future when they go to college. Another point is holistic development. So many Catholic schools emphasize the development of the whole person, mind, body, and spirit, offering programs in academics, arts, athletics, and service. So we really feel it's important that students are treated like an individual. They are all different. They are all unique and need different things. And at our Catholic boarding schools, we really help identify what the strengths are of each student and kind of help them figure out what they like and what they're good at and find activities and academics to really help push them to their extreme or limit and get them where they need to be. Some other benefits of a Catholic boarding school education include that sense of community. So living with peers in a faith-based environment creates a close-knit community, often promoting lifelong friendships and a strong support network. So again, we include everyone. Any of our Catholic boarding schools, we welcome students from all different backgrounds and faiths. We actually think that's important for creating that sense of community that we want at our schools, where everyone belongs. Another reason to study at Catholic boarding school is character formation. So Catholic boarding schools often stress values like service, compassion, integrity, and respect, instilling a strong moral compass. All of our schools are a little bit different. At St. John's, we use the Benedictine tradition, and we have values like listening, respecting other people, hospitality, moderation, being part of a community. So really, they're teaching students how to be a good human. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be Catholic, but all these values are really good human values to have. Another reason to study at a Catholic boarding school would be those service opportunities. So many programs integrate service work into the curriculum, giving students practical ways to live out their faith and contribute to the wider community. So most of our schools have some kind of service requirement. So that might be volunteer work or working more with within the community, going to Humane Society or working at the hospital or local food shelf, just ways to give back to the community, because not only is that good for college applications, but it's just a really good thing to do as well. And the final benefit I have of studying at a Catholic boarding school is leadership development. So smaller class sizes and tight-knit communities often give students more opportunities to take on leadership roles in school activities, clubs, or faith groups. So we find that leadership opportunities are readily available at our schools, and they're very important, again, for that college preparation to help them get into the school they're looking at. But it's just a good skill to develop throughout their life as well.
Well, thank you, Molly. All those benefits of a Catholic boarding school, they're going to overlap on some of what I'm talking about because Catholic boarding school benefit the whole community on our campus. Different schools have different percentages, but I could say that anywhere from 30 to 50% of students on Catholic boarding school campuses are non-Catholics. They come to us for many different reasons, and I'll talk about a few of those. I'll continue on with what Molly was speaking about with the service learning and volunteer work. That's a big part of all of our campuses within the CBSA. Getting those young men, young women into the community to help others, just to see how people live around them is really beneficial. Yes, there is the added benefit that helps with your college applications, that look at what I've done, but it helps you as a human. It really helps you to grow and become a better person. So that does, though, lead to that pathway to university. Studies show that graduates from Catholic boarding schools, have a lot higher percentage of finishing their degrees in a timely manner. It's much higher than public schools and even higher than private day schools. That comes from that independent living, that family atmosphere of treating each one of our students as part of the family and really teaching them to grow and mature both academically, but also socially, emotionally, and just to become, strong candidates for going on to university. Most of our schools or all of our schools will have a religious curriculum, but in general, that's not a Bible study class every day. We want to really integrate our students into world religions. You will see classes like interreligious issues. We offer a course here at Chaminade called Interreligious Issues, which take the 5 major world religions of Catholicism, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, and compare and contrast. How are they the same? How are they different? Not which one's right and which one's wrong, but how do people around the world live every day and how do we, compare? Yeah, so then we have a few other things that I can go on to about, moral values that we instill in our students, morals and ethics, making sure that our students really are the best they can be. A lot of schools have school mottos. Chaminade's school motto is Esto Vir. We're a boys' school. It means be a man. It doesn't mean be, a macho man, be a big, strong guy. No, it means be the best man you can be. Be empathetic, be helpful, be a man of character, be a good leader. And those type of values that we're instilling in our students each day are good for anyone. That family spirit, all of our students feel welcomed. There years past, getting your knuckles wrapped with rulers is kind of gone. Now these days, we want to help you if you fall down. We'll pick you back up, dust you off, tell you what happened and what went wrong, and make sure it doesn't happen again. And then overall, I think there's something like 1.5 billion Catholics in the world. So going to a school, a Catholic boarding school, is going to help you to identify with that number of people around the world. Just learning a bit about church history, the morals and values, your service and volunteer work, that's all going to support our students of any background, any faith, or even non-faith. We just want you to come in, work hard, do well, and become the best student you can be.
Well said, Mark. Thank you so much for both of your inputs. And I did want to pivot now to the college prep in Catholic boarding schools. And really, what does that mean? Ultimately, we all three and most Catholic boarding schools are in a college preparatory environment. Our students are preparing for university or college after their time with us. And so how do we make that happen? And how do we really prepare them in those 4 years that they have with us, or however many years they are with us? For the vast majority of our students here, they are in a rigorous academic curriculum. We have small class sizes, so teachers have great relationships with those students, and then they're also able to find those teachers after the regular school hours, unlike a public high school where you may not have the access to your faculty members at any given time. I think those relationships really lend itself to writing the greatest letters of recommendation down the road, as we've talked about when it does come to the college application process. Another component is college counseling in-house. So all three of our schools have that kind of established in our schools, and our students are benefiting from that ongoing college counseling all 4 years. Obviously, the focus is a little bit more closer to the sophomore, junior level, but really those college counselors lend themselves to these students in ways that a student who is at a public high school may not have as much support, ongoing support as we all do. And then truly the high school acceptance and matriculation rate, we nearly have 100% matriculation to college. I would imagine the three of us all have that stat. And as we see, students choosing different schools for different reasons, this happens to just be something that we continue to see, and what people seek us out for is to find that perfect fit for them for high school, but then ultimately find the right fit for them beyond our walls. A little bit more about college prep and Catholic boarding schools. We really talk about the extracurricular activities that help with the college admissions process. Again, kind of getting back to, we have a goal in mind as a freshman, and that is to get into your top choice college or university. We really try and work with those students to find the right fits, both academically, but also extracurricularly, whether that's in sports, activities like the theater, drama, and clubs. All these kinds of things really help students build that character formation and ultimately seek out those better performing activities that they actually enjoy doing. Along with that, though, we do have test prep, recommendations, and other college prep components offered throughout their 4 years with us. And then, quite frankly, the cultural and global awareness in a boarding school far exceeds any experience at another school. These are students who are living and going to school with students from all different cultures from around the world, as well as their domestic friends. And so there's really a sense of community and purpose. And again, we talk about that spirituality and faith. This is all part of that, and growing as the individual rather than just a number. And to that, I'll pivot over to Mark again.
Sure. So far, we've been talking about why Catholic boarding. Now I'd like to tell you about why Chaminade. So Chaminade College Preparatory School is located in St. Louis, Missouri. We opened in 1910 as a school for students in grades 4 through 12. Currently, we still accept students in both middle school and high school in grades 6 through 12, and have students from about 10 states and 18 countries living and studying on campus with us. As a college prep school, academics do come first. Our PACE program, our Pathway to Access College Early, is probably our signature program, which combines 27 advanced placement courses with 110 dual university credit courses taught by our teachers right here on our campus. And that allows our students not only to truly prepare for the challenges and rigors of a university classwork, but it also saves them time and money. And that over 80% of Chaminade graduates will finish their time here with 2 years of university or more already complete. I did mention we still have a middle school and a high school, so we have both junior and senior boarding on campus. We have students boarding here from grades 6 through 12 every year in a very supportive family environment. As a school for boys that I mentioned, we are specialists at teaching young men. Boys are very active learners. They're very active in general. The majority of our teachers are actually male. We do have a good mix, but they have that good kind of older brother, uncle, grandfather type relationship with their students. And our teachers are very well educated themselves, with 96% of our teachers holding masters or PhDs. Getting involved is how we balance those rigorous academics, though, with 65 sports teams across 19 varsity sports and over 40 non-athletic clubs to choose from. Our students are involved day in and day out over the weekends throughout the entire year. Add to that just our fun weekend activity schedule, being only 10 minutes from downtown city of St. Louis, of nearly 3 million people in the metro area. We've got great access to the zoo, the art museum, Major League Baseball, professional football and hockey games, and much more. Our campus is a very safe and secure, beautiful green area located in Ladue, Missouri, one of the top per capita wealth neighborhoods of the area, if not of the Midwest. So it does lend itself to being a very nice and safe area. And we've been doing this for a long time, 115 years the school's been here. About 20 years I've been here, so if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Check out Chaminade, Estovir.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Mark. So like I said, my name is Molly. I work at St. John's Prep School. We are a day and boarding school located in Collegeville, Minnesota. We have students from grades 6 through 12, and for boarding, we have students from grades 8 through 12. Something that makes us very unique is that we share a campus with St. John's University. So our students actually have access to a 2,900-acre campus of woodlands and wetlands and lakes, and they can take college classes, they can use the library, eat at the dining hall. We also have a sister school called College of St. Benedict about 10 minutes away. Our students can take the Link bus to that campus and they can take classes there, they can eat there, go to concerts, athletic events, speakers. So it's kind of like that nice transition. While students are still in high school, they can get that exposure and experience to what university life is like. We are still smaller, though, about 280 total students. So they kind of have the best of both. They have the small class sizes at prep and the small environment, but then they have access to that larger college community. So we have, like I said, about 280 students, and about 30% of our students are boarding students. So we have a lot of students living on our campus from 14 countries. So we have a wide variety of students kind of from all over the world. We do use a college prep curriculum. So we have a lot of college class options at the university. That's something very, very cool our students can do. They can take college classes for no additional cost. They can take AP classes or honors level classes. Our curriculum, it's called Aspire to Excellence, and it really allows students to focus on what they're good at and what they enjoy and what they might want to study for university. So it's kind of like choosing college majors and minors, but in high school, they can earn distinctions in 7 different disciplines. We have a lot of different activities, so many different sporting athletic clubs, theater, music, drama, arts. We have a lot of academic clubs, a lot of service opportunities. So we have a lot going on at St. John's Prep. If you have any questions for us, please let us know. We'd be happy to reach out. We still have some spaces available for the fall 2025 school year, and we'd be happy to have your students there. Now I'll turn it over to Gretchen to finish us up.
Well, thank you both. And I think what's so special is we all do the same thing, but we do it a little bit differently. And so when we talk about the differences, it's fun for us to learn about one another and really to think about the different options that our potential students have. So here at Woodlands Academy of the Sacred Heart, we are in Lake Forest, Illinois. It's about 30 miles north of Chicago. So while we sit on 41 acres of beautiful campus in a serene and very safe community, as is Lake Forest is, we are also just a train ride away from downtown Chicago. There's tons of cultural activities, shopping, and quite frankly, being close to Chicago International O'Hare Airport usually means it's one flight and a one-stop shop for our international students traveling well across the globe. To not get into too much of the specifics, but I do want to point out we are actually smaller than both of these schools. Our total enrollment is about a 125, and our students who are in our boarding school occupy about 20% of that amount. So we have domestic and international boarders. We also have 5-day and 7-day boarding programs. So some students who board actually go home on the weekends. They might live local to the city of Chicago, but it's just a little too far away. And then for our international students and our 7-day boarders, those are folks who call Woodlands home all the time, just like these other schools. So really the benefits of being at Woodlands is you're in an all-girls environment, grades 9 through 12. As you can see, we have a 4-to-1 student ratio, which is something that we really are proud of. And because of how happy our teachers are, a lot of the faces that students meet ahead of their time with us are the same faces that they'll meet when they are a student at Woodlands. Obviously, like I said, the majority of our students get into their top choice colleges and university. That kind of goes across the board for all 3 of our schools. And then really the proximity to being close to Chicago also lends itself to more opportunities to be on college campuses. We're just this down the street from Northwestern University and the University of Chicago, where some of our different clubs and activities have competitions. I know our math competition team competed at Northwestern a few weeks ago, and just being in a larger metropolitan area, it allows us to have a lot more access to fun things and activities on those weekends where the girls want to get out and explore. And to kind of round us out, I'd love to wrap it up by talking about the admissions process. So really, the three of our schools and many Catholic boarding schools go through a similar process. This really usually starts with an inquiry, and I'm going to say the application, as it kind of goes hand in hand. Typically, there is a deadline, but a lot of schools do have rolling admissions. I would encourage you to look into each of our schools to determine what those deadlines may look like. And then really the standard application is going to include information about you, about your family, and then really obviously about your academics and personal background. We look for transcripts to give us an idea of where you've been as a student and perhaps what growth you've seen and done for yourself. And then really, even as we talk about letters of recommendation for college, that's what all of our schools look for as well from your current teachers and principals. That helps us get a sense of who you are, because you're not just a number. We want to know who you are as a student and how can we best support your journey here, whether it's in the classroom or as just a student who's living in the boarding program. How can we make this the best experience for you possible? And then specifically, we look for English proficiency. So that could be different tests and exams. The TOEFL and Duolingo tend to be the most popular ones, but many schools will accept a variation of those as well. And this really kind of brings me to the interview. That's what all of us have really agreed that is the most important kind of factor in the process. We want to look for someone who's excited about coming to our schools. What do you want to get out of this? And how can we support that for you? We know we have a lot to offer, but our goal is to just get to know you. And again, between the letters of recommendation, your essays, and the interview, by the time you step foot in our door, we hope that we know who you are and what you're about. And so I think I can say that confidently. Chaminade, St. John's, and Woodlands are all great options for an international student looking to find the right boarding school. And I would say one last thought, definitely do your research. I'll get to the next page, but we're really glad that you took the time to do the research now in joining us for this webinar.